Well, welcome to Career Prep Day, everybody. 19 years, Don, you said? 18? Wow, we can vote. That's a good thing. I was a participant, when was that? Or like maybe the first or second, because it would have been like...
Late 90s.
Yeah, that transitions well. See these segues we put together? We rehearsed for 4 days. My name is Wayne Prichard. I'm an Iota Nu. I was initiated in, yeah, there you go. Truman State, middle of nowhere. Great town. Lovely people. Lovely people we heard from. But I was initiated in November of 1996. And done a bunch all around the fraternity, you know, the district director stuff, national committees, all that fun stuff that we do with Delta Sigs in our alumni lives. I currently work for Chipotle Mexican Grill in the marketing department, so as you probably well know, we're busy this week. And Don asked me to help out with this event every now and again, and I'm always very privileged. So a thank you to Don and Slack for putting some faith in me to help out. It does mean a lot, and I love to stay involved with. But we're here today to talk about interviewing, right? Let's get some jobs, money. Yeah. It does make the world go round apparently in some ways, shape, or form. But Don and I were talking about this yesterday, and as some of you who may have seen this presentation, or some of you who just know me, know that I'm a bit of a contrarian. I sprinkle in a little contrarian every now and again, and that's a very nice way to say that I'm pretty much a fucking contrarian. So what I'm here to do today is to talk a little bit about the different stuff, and that's where I like to live in the fringes. I'm not the middle of the bell curve type of guy. Some of you would agree with that. And interviewing, I like to say, is 85% science and 15% art. We have some amazing people here today to talk about the 85%. And we have an average dude with an average face to talk about the 15%. I'm going to talk about art today. And the reason I like to talk about art is because it's a gray area, and I don't have to be really held accountable to it. No, that's not true. It's a funny joke, but it's not true. I use the tagline of science and art and the balance between them, much like someone who would, like a vintner, who'd be making wine, or a brewer who'd be making beer, because there's a lot of science and a lot of art. Interviewing is a little bit more science. And that interview education that you guys all know about is what I call the traditional interview education. And this is the stuff that you must do. If you don't meet this, you don't get anywhere. Phone is spinning. See if that works. There we go. And this is kind of some of the highlights of traditional interview education. You know, if you don't do this, you're not going to get your gig. If you don't got the great education, if you don't do the research, if you don't have the perfect resume, send the note, you know, dress the part, all that stuff, you're out. But when you do that, and we have some amazing resources here today to teach you about that, then you get the foot in the door. The 15% of art that we're going to talk about today is when instead of just getting the foot in the door, you kick it in. And that's what I like to talk about. So we got some recommendations for that traditional education that we talked about. Hey, Career Prep Day, you're here. We're already doing it. But also, you know, one of my buddies, Tim Augustine, he does this book, or a series of books, How Hard Are You Not? You've got to check this out. If you haven't read it, if you don't own it, you need to go to Amazon right now. I'm not offended. I'm a nerd. I like to mess with my phone too, hence. So order it now. He's got a new version coming out. It's version 4, I think. And Tim and I like to joke that we're a good complement because he takes, again, the science and I take the art. Your university, get in your career center. Work with your student organizations like Delta Sigma Pi and other professional organizations to hone you into a great interviewing machine. And then practice, 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 practice. When you're done practicing, guess what you get to do? You get to practice. Always be working on how you can interact with people better. Not interview, interact with people better. everything is branding. Branding is everything. We use that term at Chipotle a lot. The way you conduct yourself with your friends, the way you conduct yourself with your teachers, that all speaks to a part of your brand. And it's connected with everything. So just be mindful of it. And learn from it. That's the most important part. Learn how people are perceiving you as a brand. And then, when you're done with that, practice. So why did I call this thing sticking the interview? It sounds like a gymnastic term. I, as many of you can probably tell, am not a gymnast. But it comes from Malcolm Gladwell. Anybody know Malcolm Gladwell? Yeah? Anybody read his books? Not enough hands going up. You guys all need to get these books. They're amazing books. But in The Tipping Point, Malcolm talks about sticky ideas. And how things, whether it's hush puppies or what are some of the other things, teen smoking, or I'm trying to think of some of the other things in the book right now off the top of my head. No, I'm failing. How do they become sticky? How do they get into people's minds? How do they stay in there? But then we expanded on that with the Heath brothers. The Heath brothers wrote an amazing book called Made to Stick. It is by far what I think. That book probably influenced this presentation more than any other single piece of work. But they talk about a few things in Made to Stick. They talk about urban legends, PSAs, proverbs. Let's have a little fun with it. Let's go off script a little bit. We're going to play I say this, you say that. Do unto others.
You would have them do unto you.
Okay. This is your brain.
This is your brain on drugs.
Okay. Old lady looking at a hamburger. She says, "Where's the
beef?"
And that's an amazing, exactly right. That's an amazing one because that is some old shit. That is an old commercial. My favorite, though, to talk about with regards to this, well, there's two actually now. We'll talk about two because Don said I had like an hour and a half. Yeah, there it is. He actually just got more gray hair. So, guy, he's in like a Marriott having a cocktail at the bar. Beautiful woman comes up. Next thing you know, it's the next morning. He wakes up in a bathtub full of ice. What's missing? Kidney, right? Do you guys know how many actual instances of that have ever happened? 0. It's never happened. It's never been legend. We just had Halloween, right? Can you give out an apple at Halloween? No, hell no. Why? What's in it? Razor blades in the frickin' apples. Oh my gosh. Do you know how many instances since 1955 have had Halloween candy tainted with something that would hurt somebody? How many physical instances in the United States? That is a precursor. Just because that's the study I read, I don't know anything more than that. How many?
2.
Guess. 1. 0. Who? Keep guessing.
2.
No. Yeah, 2. Somebody said 2. There's 2. Since 1955. Since Marty McFly went back in the door. Just back in the Prichard day, right? 2 of those instances, one had an uncle poison with cyanide a piece of candy for his nephew because he wanted the insurance money. The other one was a father trying to kill his son for the exact same reason. Moral of the story. Trick or treat wherever you want. Don't trust your freaking family. Oh my gosh, these people are crazy. But it sticks in our head. We know that we can't give out an apple. We know that the brain on drugs thing. We know that do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. That is pervasive in every major language on this planet. But we don't. It's not like how do people in the Congo pick up this idea? Well, it's an idea that is ingrained in us as people, and it's a sticky idea because we all want to live up to that standard, or we all want to have a piece of that ingrained in us. So that's what we're talking about whenever we're talking about sticky. But the real question is, how do you become sticky? How do you get into somebody's mind and you become memorable? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to fly through a bunch of topics. This is the caveat. This is normally like a 90-minute keynote. And again, Don said I only get 85 minutes. So we're trimming it down. We're going to go through it rocket fast. And we might have some questions. And if Q&A we don't have time at the end, that's cool. I'm going to be back. We're going to mill around during lunch, and I'm going to be available for Q&A after I go get a bunch of food. So we got Stick in the Interview. That's our presentation today. These are the 4 of the original 7 that we're going to be talking about today. I think they're the most fun to talk about. That's the reason I picked them. But they're also something that I think are definitely immediately applicable to the interview process, and you can start using immediately. So first and foremost, we got to talk about your mindset. We got to talk about how you go into the interview. We have to talk about priming oneself to be successful in a situation. And I love the word priming. I don't know why, but it's just a fun word to say, and it actually makes me think of something more to come. So when we look at our mindset, we got to do a few things to put us in the right mindset. I'm kind of a hippie at heart, just to put it out there a little bit. I'm a little on the touchy-feely kumbaya side. And that one goes into the first one. We're talking about cultivating happiness. I do something on my Twitter feed every week. Well, not every week, because I've taken a little bit of time off because we've been doing planning presentations for Chipotle. But I do something every week where I put, and I just started it up again, put 3 things out there that I'm currently really happy about, that actually fulfill me. What I'm doing when I do that is actually priming myself to feel better. That's it. Completely self-serving. It's all about me. More about me, less about you. But it helps me to become a happy person. It helps me to realize that I have a couple of good things going on in my life. I got a bunch of shitty things going on in my life too, just like you guys. But we have to take the time to cultivate our happiness, to plant that seed, to water it, to take care of it, to make ourselves more fulfilled and happy. Anybody want to hang around a jerk? No. Anybody want to hire a jerk? No. We want to hire people that we like. I like happy people. So cultivate your happiness. Put your concerns on paper. This is a great trick that somebody told me. I don't even know who told me this, so I'm saying that I came up with it. I would actually go to the bathroom before an interview, not getting weird, I promise, and I would sit there and I would look in the mirror and I would focus on, I'm skipping around by the way, I'm focusing on some of the things I want to say, and I would watch my mouth say that before. Interviewing, like, if there's one idea that you have to get across, and it maybe doesn't come up in the interview process, I'll say it. And I'll practice it and I'll rehearse it. That way I know that I'm going to work it in. Very important. Put your concerns down on paper. I used to take a black Sharpie and write, on it. On a piece of paper, on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And I would crumble it up and throw it away. I haven't said in this presentation yet, other than just the time right there, right? I actually did it this morning too. Is another one that I would put down. I'm very comfortable pausing, but it took me a long time to get there. And one of the ways I reinforce that is I write it down on paper and I throw it away. It's a mental exercise to prime you to be the version that you want. Branding is everything. Everything is branding. When I'm public speaking, I don't want a part of my brand. Well, in case I just said it. But I'm saying it as a teacher. So don't call me out. Create a mental catalog of stories. We want to have these applicable events that we can relay to interviewers. We want to write these down and have a bullet point list of things that you've done in your professional, your academic, your philanthropic careers that you can relate to a variety of questions. That mental catalog is going to be the low-hanging fruit that you get to pull on where you don't have to think about it too much, that are great stories. You can talk about, say it is a mission trip to Costa Rica. That's probably applicable to a wide variety of questions, right? You can talk about the business aspect of it. What are the financial concerns that you're helping out with? What are some of the logistical problems that you had to deal with going down there? What are some of the fulfilling things that you learned down there? That story about that little girl that you helped that day, that can be a personal story to relate to something, to any random question. But you have to have the mental catalog, because if you can't pull it fast, and you can't have a story that means something to you, and you're making something up on the fly, bullshit detectors go off. And then you're not sticky. I guess it's kind of sticky, but not sticky in the good way. Sticky in the stinky way. That's not good. One of my favorite things that I definitely don't obviously embody here is condensation versus elaboration. Concise speech. Don't elaborate if you don't have to. Someone will ask you to elaborate if they're interested. Sound bites are sticky. Going through, a long-winded story when you could condense it, it's not sticky. You want to have somebody a week later look at your resume, see the name Wayne Prichard, and a soundbite comes in. Oh, I remember he talked about that little girl that he helped in Costa Rica with her homework that time, and it was a really blah, 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 blah. That's what you want. When you watch the evening news, they don't go on long diatribes about events that are happening. Soundbites, they stick. That's what we want to put in our interviewer's head. So how do we get some of those sound bites into an interviewer's head? This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Schemas. Does anybody know what schemas are? Some of you have probably seen this presentation before. So. Okay. Cheating, which I like cheaters. They're awesome. They get it. Don't do that. I got to take a little drink of water here. But this is my favorite point of this presentation, because we get to do some exercise back and forth, not like Jane Fonda style. Again, I dated myself. Jeez, getting old. All right, so I'm gonna flash some words up here on the screen. I want you guys to read them, and I want you guys to think about it, and I want you guys to just look at it, think about it, blah 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 blah. Take a second or two while I imbibe some of this lovely hydrogen and oxygen. Everybody pretty much got through it? Probably. Tell me what you remember. Go ahead. Anybody. Open forum. Huh? The number 3. Okay. So we got a number. Awesome.
There were 5 things.
There were 5. That's awesome. That's good.
Capture.
Huh?
I saw the word capture.
Capture? Okay. It's a good action verb, right?
Activate the capture process.
Okay.
Study the results.
All right.
Adjust the 3 main options.
There you go. So think about it. 40 people are almost able to put together the whole thing. Is that how we want your interview to remember you? How about I frame it like this? We start out, okay, I'm going to flash some words up on the screen here, guys. And all of these things are kind of relative to taking a picture. Like a nice camera, like an SLR camera. So think about it like you're at your nephew's bar mitzvah and you're snapping some pics. Think about what I'm going to throw up in regards to that. So now, by priming you with talking about it as relative to a camera, as you read these sentences are going into little buckets in your brain. And you're categorizing all these sentences and all these thoughts relative to taking a nice picture. Your brain has been primed. Messing with your heads. Give me money. No. Your brain has been primed to understand these events or these sentences, these actions better. That's what a schema is. That's what I've used successfully, and a lot of people I don't know if it's hundreds yet, but I've given this presentation a few times at like lead schools and things like that, and people have come up to me, and some people have found me, like a year later and say, hey, I got this cool story, I got this job, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. One of the things that keeps coming up in my long-term feedback loop is this, which I love it because it's just fun and it's kind of mental hackery, and I'm a nerd, and that it's just my thing. But people have come up and been like, you know what? Whenever somebody asked me a difficult question and I had a good answer, I would always, not always, but I used a schema and said, I actually have a pretty cool answer to your question, and I think it's actually really relevant to the question, but maybe to something a little bigger too. Let me tell you about it. Now, that interviewer is primed to hear a good answer because you've told him it's a good answer. So now everything you say is going to get categorized under a good answer bucket. What? Granted, you got to bring the heat. You can't bring a shitty answer. Okay? You can't be an idiot. But they've been mentally primed to help categorize your ideas into something that becomes more memorable for them. You're helping them remember you. You are becoming sticky in their mind. That way, a week later, Wayne Prichard, I remember that. He had a really good answer to that question about working in a group setting and overcoming some adversity. I can't remember, what was it? Yeah, I think it was in his finance class. Because you told him you had a good answer. You told her that it was something that was relevant to what they were asking and to something more. And they remembered it better. It's mental hackery. It's like right now, about a solid 65% of you are being like, sounds like bullshit. I agree with you. I agree that it can't sound. Try it. I've been impressed with the feedback I've gotten over the years. And again, you can't, it's not like you're going to use it like, you know, for every question. Then you just sound stupid. But when you got a home run, let people know it's going to be a home run. One of the best hits in baseball of all time. What is it? The called shot. I just got goosebumps. He let him know it was coming. And he did it. Everybody remembers it. I actually wasn't at that game. But it's right here. Switching gears, because we gotta go fast. This is something that I think is so overlooked in the interview process because people want so badly to have themselves relayed in such a manner during the interview process. That's true, because everything is branding. Branding is everything. But at some point in time, what did we talk about earlier? Do people like to hire jerks? Do people like to hire people that they think they can actually get along with and maybe enjoy? Yeah. I just hired a few people for Chipotle all over the country. And one of the key things that I brought to the table, and like somebody said, that's a really insightful thing, so I'm like, awesome, pat myself on the back. But could you be in a 3-hour road trip in a car with this person? And people were, and every time, I traveled all over the country interviewing people. Every time when I was on a team interviewing someone, afterwards when we were debriefing, do I want to be in a road trip with this person? Could I do it? Like, the qualifications, of course, they're there. The technical, the science, the 85%, but then there's 15%. You can be a perfect candidate and a jerk. Or just not likable, or just vanilla, and not get the job. And not that vanilla is bad, because this is kind of my personal favorite. It's good. You can add a bunch of cracker. But I'm stealing, and I'm going to riff here a little bit on Dale Carnegie. Anybody Dale Carnegie, how to effectively influence people? Must read. Just like Tipping Point. Must read. Fantastic book. Be engaged, not engaging. What the hell does that mean, Wayne? It means care more about the person than yourself. You actually don't matter. People will relate to you based on how you relate to them. So if you want someone to engage with you, you must engage with them. It's not about you. Be thoughtful. Take time. Don't rush into an answer if you don't have one. If you don't have one, say, you know what? Can I actually noodle on that for just a minute and we can come back to it? It's not wrong. Some people would look at that and say, you couldn't come up with an answer. It's not quick on his feet. Well, maybe. But it's also I think, is a sign of thoughtfulness. This actually happened in my interview for Kansas City, where Colette, she does my job in Kansas City. She actually did this. And someone brought it up as a red flag. But I countered it and be like, you know what? I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's a knock at all. If anything, I think it's a positive. So take the time you need. Keep eye contact with people. Young kids today. I feel like a young kids today. No, it is something that in people coming out of college that I've interviewed, and that we see just as a trend line, have a few more issues with interpersonal communication, especially nonverbal. So maintain your eye contact. There's actually, like, when I would talk about practicing with your friends, I would say if you guys are going to stand on the truth box, you guys probably don't keep a lot of eye contact with your friends either. Just saying. Maybe just put that in the back of your mind and think about it. There's something you can practice. Humility. Oh my gosh, humility. It is not about you. I'm not going to expound on this too much, but just, there is no substitute for being humble. And there is no, I don't want to expound on it too much because we'll go down a rabbit hole and I'll chew up too many on my 85 minutes. But going back to the well on that one. But try and have an air of humility around you. Again, it is not about you. Celebrate your teams. If somebody asks you a question about something that you did in school or in your professional life, celebrate your team before you celebrate yourself. It is the ability to elevate others is so much more important than to be elevated yourself. It is not about you. It is about your team. And if you can showcase that, you will be sticky. Because everybody wants to talk about themselves. Everybody. Imagine if you're the one of three that didn't really talk about yourself too much and you celebrated your team. That's an idea that people remember. And smile. Be happy. You get to make a friend. That's something that we should be happy about. I got a great quote here. Well, you tell me if it's great. It's from Jimmy Stewart, old Hollywood actor. Again, I'm dating myself constantly in this presentation. He said, in life I've been oh so clever or oh so pleasant. For years I thought I was clever and pleasant is better. It's not about you. It's about you being a pleasant person to be around. Jimmy knew it. He's probably one of the most successful actors of all time. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Culture fit. This is something that often gets overlooked in the interview process. Interviews, in fact, are bi-directional. And they're always like, no, have good questions at the end. Okay, I agree with that, but you need to be interviewing this person and the brand that they are putting out around their company just as much as they're interviewing you. It doesn't happen. Hardly at all. And it is, I would say it is so important that it is, I don't want to sound too hippie or too off the wall here. I would say that if you find a job and you like a job and you get into a gig and it's not the right culture fit for you, you're doing a disservice to somebody so important, and that is you. You must do something bigger than yourself. You must align yourself with something that is uplifting for you. If you are not fulfilled in your professional life, I think that you are stacking the deck against you to be fulfilled in your life. Period. It is so monumentally important. And then this, I kind of, alignment of core values, it kind of goes without saying. Free burrito cards, whoever called me on that. All right. There you go. So hey, this is a great segue. Creating win-win relationships. Somebody's helping me, elevating me to be a better presenter, and they get burritos out of the dang deal. So that's a win-win relationship. But also, when you're interviewing your company, you need to find a way that they can help you win. They are concerned with how can you help them win. It should be 100% bi-directional. one of the great stories in culture fit is Zappos.com. And Zappos has had its ebbs and flows over the year. But back in the day, and they still do it, you would actually get offered a check to leave Zappos after your training. Last time I did research on it, it was a $10,000 check. 10 grand to walk away, take it. They don't take it. Because they fit with the culture. And it's important. Phone keeps rotating. I have to fix that. I can't stress enough how much culture fit is important. At Chipotle, you know, it's just burritos. But it's burritos for something bigger. And I need something bigger. So that's why I fit at Chipotle. We're not, like, this is the most dressed up I've been this week, and I've presented to the CMO this week, if that tells you something about our company. That's a fit for me. This is probably the most formal presentation I've done in a year. We don't really have a lot of time for the Q&A. Don's given me the international peace sign, which also means 2 minutes left. So we're pretty much done for today.
And that was 2 minutes ago.
Really, it was like 3, but Don's being nice. But I'm going to be around later in the day and going to hang out. If anyone has any questions, comments, anything about this, I love this stuff. Like, love it. So come talk to me about it. And I know this is going to be a little different than some of the other things you're learning today. That is a benefit. You need to learn multiple sides of things to understand a thing. And this is just the 15% that I like to talk about. Thank you for your time today, people.